Hello, Mayor and City Council. I am Peter Perez, the Director of Emergency Management, and I'm here to present the budget reduction submittal from the Office of Emergency Management for the 2027 budget year. Before we talk about the financial impacts, I want to ground us in what emergency management is and why it exists as a required function in the city of Greeley. So emergency management is the discipline that helps our city mitigate, prepare for, respond to, and recover from emergencies and disasters. It is a function mandated by the state of Colorado under the Colorado Disaster Emergency Act. State law requires every jurisdiction to maintain a current emergency operations plan, designate an emergency management agency and its director to conduct regular training and exercises, and to participate in regional coordination. Our office strives to meet these mandates by maintaining the city's emergency operations plan, our hazard mitigation plan, the continuity plan, and other core planning documents. These plans outline how the city responds to large-scale incidents, how departments and partners work together, and how critical functions continue during disruptive events. An example when thinking of emergency management in relation to other departments that are more visible and tactical is to think of the entire city organization as a symphony. Police, fire, and public works are first responders whose role is the immediate stabilization of the scene. Think of violins, trumpets, and the percussion section. Emergency management acts as the conductor, ensuring strategic coordination of all city departments and partners to work together through the phases to not just respond to the emergency, but to recover from it and continue the economic life cycle of a city. Police and fire manage the physical perimeter of an incident. Emergency management manages the entire city's infrastructure, handling community-wide logistics like mass sheltering, public alerts, and resource distribution. Emergency management protects city assets and the local economy by securing state and federal disaster grants and mitigating long-term risks before they disrupt the city budget. We also strive for compliance with state and federal frameworks, such as the National Incident Management System, the National Response Framework, and requirements under the Stafford Act and other federal frameworks and policies. These policies are not optional. They determine whether Greeley, including our community members and business owners, are eligible for federal recovery dollars and grants in various spaces before and after major disasters. All of this is why the discussion about budget matters. When our capacity is reduced, the city's ability to meet its legal obligations, maintain funding eligibility, and safeguard community resilience is directly impacted, which will lead to higher costs in the future for the city, our community members, and our business owners. Our approach was based off the goals set by the budget team in order to support the city, legal requirements on the city in areas of emergency management, and looking at keeping basic foundational emergency management priorities that at the end of the day are not seen, but are highly important in keeping the city prepared for a disaster and its ability to acquire assistance after a disaster to rebuild and keep our community members and business owners in the city. This slide represents information that was presented during the council retreat. As you'll notice, the Office of Emergency Management's 2026 budget was reduced by approximately $0.1 million. As a result, today's discussion is focused on evaluating a budget that has already been significantly reduced, with very little flexibility remaining for additional cuts. The Office of Emergency Management's base budget for 2027 is approximately $473,000. In framing this conversation, it is also important to point out that the budget is about 90% budgeted personnel cost. In 2025, however, we estimate that there was about $80,000 in budgeted personnel funds that were not used naturally due to just the way that the city budgets for personnel costs across the board. There is no way to make substantial reductions without affecting the staffing in some way, whether that be reclassification to lower pay grades or elimination of positions. Due to the amount of legal minimum requirements, it is not advisable to have less than 2 staff in the office at a city of our size. We would also fall behind our peer cities in emergency management resources and capabilities if we were to remove a staff member. So we got to a reduction number by looking at cuts that could be made without removing programs entirely. Overall, these reductions make the city less prepared and shift our focus from a proactive approach to a reactive emergency management program. Our first reduction was the removal of one of our fleet vehicles. This will limit the ability of our office to respond to the field and remove our ability to move critical assets around the city during emergency, such as the mass sheltering supply trailer. This will also reduce our ability to respond on scene if requested by a city department or partners, as it would increase the city's liability. Next, we vastly reduced travel for staff down to 1 conference per year for each employee. Our critical mission in training city staff in their disaster role and exercising their responsibilities during blue sky days will also be diminished, as we'll be unable to bring in outside trainings and no longer be able to provide the more complex exercises that have happened in the past. These more complex exercises require months of planning and have a higher personnel and supply cost to complete. Discussion-based exercises will continue to happen, and trainings that local staff are authorized to teach will still take place. Lastly, with the reduction in our operating budget, there are no funds for a public education and outreach program. Staff will still be available to present to groups, but there will be no funds for printing, completion items, or other support items needed and used in other education and outreach programs. It will also remove our ability to tailor other educational materials to the Greeley area or to a specific native language other than English. This slide shows our service level impacts as I just explained them. Emergency management is often invisible on a normal day, and that is by design. Our role is not always front-facing during routine operations, but when disaster strikes, our work becomes critical to the stability of the community. During a disaster, emergency management serves as the coordination hub that brings together city departments, utilities, nonprofits, healthcare, schools, state, federal agencies, and private partners to ensure a unified response. After a disaster, the focus shifts from immediate response to community stabilization and recovery. That recovery work directly impacts whether community members and business owners can remain in Greeley or are forced to relocate because they no longer have housing, employment, transportation, or access to essential services. With these cuts, we still have a remaining gap of $98,097. This proposal does not impact the 2 staff in the office. Again, due to legal requirements in a city our size, it is not advisable to change the staffing organization in the current office. Eliminating a position does not eliminate the need for the work that they would have done and puts the city at an even greater liability risk due to not meeting mandates or grant requirements. This decision was discussed at length with city leadership and is the recommended path forward at this time. In summary, while many city services have visible daily interactions with community members, emergency management's value is most evident during the community's most difficult moments, when coordinated leadership and recovery support determine how resilient the community will be moving forward. Investment in emergency management is ultimately an investment in community resilience, economic stability, and the ability of community members to recover and remain part of the community after a crisis. I appreciate your time and thoughtful approach to this difficult situation and welcome questions to better discuss and understand the role of emergency management.